It was her first day at Halbridge and Reed, one of the most prestigious marketing firms in New York. 23-year-old Amelia Torres had dreamed of this moment since she was in high school, scribbling campaign ideas in the margins of her notebooks while her classmates doodled hearts and initials. Clutching a leather-bound notebook in her anxiety, she stepped into the buzzing 14th floor of the Manhattan high-rise, her heels clicking nervously against the marble floor. She was 5 minutes early, but everyone else seemed to be 10 minutes late. That's when she saw him, dressed in jeans and a simple navy pullover. A man stood by the coffee station, carefully placing a pod into a machine and humming something that sounded suspiciously like John Mayer. He looked up and smiled, a warm, friendly, approachable kind of smile, the kind that puts you at ease without trying too hard. She took a breath and approached. "Hey," she said, offering her hand. "Amelia, I'm a new junior associate in brand strategy." He shook her hand. His grip was firm, but not intimidating. "Hi, I'm Nathan. Are you the new intern too?" she asked, noting the absence of a tie or badge. His casual appearance made her feel slightly overdressed, but also comforted her in a strange way. Maybe she wasn't the only one who felt like a fish out of water. He hesitated for a moment, then gave a half-smile. "Yeah, something like that." "Cool," she grinned. "We can survive the chaos together." They ended up talking for a few more minutes. He told her about the best food trucks nearby, the fastest elevators, the quirks of the accounting department. He listened intently when she spoke about her childhood in the Bronx, how her mom worked 2 jobs to support her, how this opportunity felt like stepping onto the first rung of a ladder she'd been staring up at for years. Then her supervisor arrived, brisk and flustered, and the whirlwind of onboarding began. Amelia turned to wave goodbye, but Nathan had already vanished. The rest of the day flew by in a blur of orientation packets, icebreakers, and names she couldn't quite remember. Still, the conversation with the intern lingered in her mind. He was kind, attentive, and unlike most people she met in a city that moved too fast to notice anyone. The next morning, she was summoned to the executive wing. Something about a project alignment meeting with the department head. Amelia's heart pounded as she stepped into the corner office. She was still new. What could this possibly be about? And there he was, seated behind a sleek mahogany desk, wearing a tailored suit and tapping through emails, was Nathan. Her jaw dropped. He looked up, met her stunned expression, and smiled. That same easy, warm smile. "Good morning, Amelia," he said smoothly. "Welcome. Please have a seat." She blinked, flustered. "Wait, you're not an intern?" He chuckled. "Not exactly. I'm Nathan Reed, as in Halbridge and Reed." She sat down slowly, as if her body might forget how to function from sheer embarrassment. I'm so sorry. I thought—" "I know," he said, cutting her off gently. "You thought I was the intern, and I let you." "Why?" He leaned back, considering. "Because it's rare to meet someone who talks to you like a person before they see your title." She swallowed hard. "I wanted to know who you were before the suit changed how you saw me." There was a long silence. Then, to her surprise, he leaned forward, lowering his voice like he was sharing a secret. "And between you and me, I like being an intern for a few minutes." She laughed, still red in the face, but the tension began to melt away. "You had me completely fooled." "I've found," he said with a twinkle in his eye, "that sometimes the best way to understand your team is to be one of them." What followed was not the interrogation she'd feared, but a conversation. He asked about her ideas, genuinely listened, and even invited her to shadow him during a high-level client pitch the next week. Amelia left the office that day floating. Over the next few months, a quiet mentorship formed between them. He checked in occasionally, not in the forced way executives sometimes did, but in a sincere, human way. He dropped by to ask how her project was going, offer a book recommendation, or share a story from his early career, when he was just a scared 22-year-old with more ambition than direction. Amelia worked harder than ever, but it didn't feel like pressure, it felt like purpose. She started staying late, refining pitches, going the extra mile, and slowly, her work began to shine. Colleagues noticed. Clients remembered her name. But what she remembered most was the afternoon when her campaign pitch got unexpectedly approved on the spot. The credit was hers. But Nathan was the one who stood silently in the back of the room, nodding along, arms crossed with the faintest look of pride on his face. One snowy evening in December, just before the holidays, Amelia returned to the office late to retrieve a forgotten folder. The office was mostly empty, dimly lit by the city's glow outside. She saw him there again, seated by the window, sipping tea and reading a notebook filled with scribbles and sketches. She hesitated, then walked in. "Do you ever stop working?" she teased. He looked up. "Only when I know someone else is dreaming big enough to take over." She sat across from him, quieter now. "Why me?" she asked. Nathan closed the notebook. "Because the day you walked in, you didn't try to impress anyone. You didn't look around the room trying to figure out who was worth your time. You just talked, like a person. And then I saw the fire in you, the ideas, the hunger, the way you think bigger than your title. That's rare." Amelia swallowed the lump forming in her throat. And because he continued, "Someone once mistook me for the janitor on my first day at my first job. I was too nervous to correct them. So I just smiled and took the trash out. They never saw me again, but I never forgot them." She laughed softly. "Life comes full circle, huh?" He nodded. "And when it does, I try to be the person I needed back then." That moment stayed with her forever. A year later, Amelia was leading a campaign for a national nonprofit that paired underprivileged kids with tech mentors. Her team had tripled. She was giving talks at universities, telling her story to others who didn't know if they belonged in rooms that didn't look like them. But what no one knew, what she never stopped holding close, was a simple act of kindness that changed her path. It wasn't about status or power. It was about someone seeing her, really seeing her, and letting her see him too. Because sometimes the smallest acts of humility unlock the largest doors. Because greatness doesn't need to announce itself. It just listens, supports, and believes in someone before they believe in themselves. And because one man once let a young woman believe he was an intern, just so she could feel like she belonged. And she never forgot.